If you've ever taken a glance at the Dead Rising Wikipedia page, you might have stumbled upon the Model Archive, which is essentially a giant photo album of every single model in the game's files. And if you've ever scrolled down that list, you've probably noticed that some of these items have never appeared in-game before. Here's a Claymore mine. When's the last time you saw that get used? Or hell, here's a rocket launcher. Does that ring any bells? No? Well, that's because there's quite a few things in here that go completely unused. A long time ago, I made a video showing most of these unused models and what they likely would have been used for, but that video was both inaccurate and pretty boring because it was just an image slideshow of all the things you could just see for yourself. You don't need me to show you the things on this wiki page. So I decided to make a better version of that video, and this time, instead of just showing you which models go unused, I'm going to go a step further and show you these models being used in-game, or at least the ones that can be used. So, I think the one most people have wanted to see since 2006 is Carlito's Barrett, and amazingly, it has a name. It's called an anti-material rifle, which it actually is in real life, so it's pretty cool that they gave it a correct name, because you never even see this. Frank holds the sniper like a handgun, and this is mostly because the handgun animation is just the default animation. Also, the sniper only fires one shot at a time. It then needs to be reloaded manually by switching to another weapon and then back. And if you drop the sniper on the floor, it can no longer be picked up again. I later modified the sniper so it uses the shotgun animation and it looks decent, I guess. Also, it should be mentioned, this thing is one hit kill, but that should be obvious. Next up, Carlito's P90. Now the P90 is similar to the sniper where it's basically a default weapon and the gun is clearly not adjusted for Frank, so it does this. It also only fires once and is overall not something Frank should be using, but perhaps it was in the earlier betas. Also, if you drop this weapon on the floor, it too cannot be picked up again. Interestingly, it's one hit kill to anywhere on a zombie, unlike most guns. Moving on, here we have the grenade. It has to be spawned in a dispenser because if it's spawned on the floor, it explodes. It also has an item name, which is pretty awesome, clearly a cut weapon for Frank. If you throw the grenade, it does exactly what you'd think it would do. It's sort of like the Molotov bomb, it's just that this one has a delay, and it even makes a sound when Frank pulls the pin and throws it. Next we have the pipe bomb, which is used by Paul in Infinity mode. And this one also has a name and functions basically the same way as the grenade. However, I noticed this one can be thrown much farther, and it bounces around when it hits stuff. It's pretty wacky. Next, we have the dynamite used by the True Eye cult. Now this one is similar to the previous bombs, however I noticed this one can explode in your hand if you hold it for too long, which is pretty strange. Also, this one has a very long delay before it explodes, probably because the fuse on it is so long, but other than that, it's just another throwable explosive. Now the next weapon isn't an NPC weapon at all, it's just simply unused. On the wiki page you've probably seen or at least heard about the space rifle or the laser cannon or whatever else people have called it. This weapon, from what I've seen, cannot spawn in the final game. However, luckily we have the ability to hop into an earlier build of the game where it actually kind of works. The gun's actual name is the beam gun, and clearly most of the textures are missing or not applied, so it flickers. This is why the texture is white on that wiki page. But we can actually pick it up. Sadly, we can't do much with it because if we fire it, the game crashes. but we can see it clearly uses some stuff from the machine gun, such as the animation and the aiming reticle. It shows just how long ago this weapon was scrapped from the game. In fact, it might have never worked properly and was just always a test model. Pretty interesting. Also, this one can be dropped on the floor and it remains equipable, which is pretty cool. Next up, we have the trolley or cart. Now, you won't recognize this one because it isn't actually in the files of the final game, but it almost was. This model was kept in the game for a very long time. In fact, even E3 2006 has all of it in the files, and it actually was once used. As you can see in this screenshot or loading screen, the True Eye cult used it to wheel Frank into their hideout. However, this was only a picture and the model was never kept in the game. But luckily, I was able to find this model in the beta, and amazingly, it spawns in the final game. It doesn't really do anything though. Frank can collide with it, and if you jump onto it, it sometimes breaks. I couldn't really manage to do it this time, but that's about it. There's no way to spawn this with a dispenser from what I've seen, so there's no way to hold it. You can actually see this cart model in a few places around the mall, such as in Sean's Food and Stuff and a few other places. And the box is the same one used by the True Eye cult, but this model is both of those things together. And for our last item, we have to hop into the PC version as it doesn't work on 360 at all. So here we have a invisible gun. It doesn't have a dispenser name, and it's about as exciting as you'd imagine. This very well could be a test gun for checking animations and rate of fire, stuff of that nature, but who knows. It functions basically the same as the P90 and the Barrett because you have to manually reload it each time you fire, but this one doesn't actually do any damage at all on anything. Also, it's pretty interesting because it recycles the Mega Buster animation for some reason instead of the handgun animation. And sadly, that's as far as we can go. Now, I of course explored 0.70 and even 0.50 to see what else I can spawn, such as the rocket launcher or maybe the claymore or at least Brad's handgun, but nope. The majority of the items that you'll see on the wiki article are just not usable by Frank or spawnable in the game, or anything other than just being a cutscene prop, that's it. But at least in this video, we got to check out quite a few weapons and items that the game did not intend you to use. And it's pretty amazing that, despite most of these being strictly for NPCs or just simply unused, the game handles these items pretty well, especially those grenades. Hopefully one day we can come across an extremely early build of Dead Rising from like 2005, because that might have a chance of having many more unusable weapons like this. But of course, until then, thanks for watching, and as always, subscribe for more.